As you come in, you'll see that it's the bed there and my bedroom. And I've added little things, like my auntie bought me that.
Oh, that's nice.
I could probably add a few more things, but I think I like it the way it is.
This is Charmaine's first time in rehab.
They do let you make it your own, like personal.
The 29-year-old has set herself up in a room at Freeman House, a detox and rehab centre in Armidale, 6 hours north of Sydney.
First week was a little bit blurry, you know, coming off everything. I thought, oh God, am I going to be able to get through this?
So how long have you been here now?
I've been here 2 months now, as of today, 2 months.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Charmaine shows me a photo of herself 2 weeks in.
You could just see the lack of confidence in my eyes, like in my face. It was mainly the ice and the chronic. That person's never coming back. I'm like moving forward. So I do have some presents here for my son. This one is like a bigger sandpit set, you get me? So it's got the little...
Her greatest motivation is her greatest loss, her 2-year-old son fostered by Child Safety. Today, she's preparing to see him for the first time since moving in.
And then look, this is his bike.
Hoping to prove one day she'll be stable enough to get him back for good.
I can do this, I'm going to do this for my son, and I'm going to become the mother he deserves more than anything.
Morning residents, hope you're well on this beautiful Tuesday. We've got relapse prevention on in the Mindala room. I would have 100% thought that was...
Charmaine's one of 23 residents who frequent group therapy. Ahead of the New South Wales Drug Summit, 7:30 was invited to see the struggles of getting help in regional areas.
Hope is a bastard. Hope has chipped teeth and black eyes and dirt under its fingernails. Hope doesn't come for free. You got to fight for it.
Many in this group have travelled hundreds of kilometres to be here.
I was born drunk, been drinking for 40 years, 44 years. I started drinking when I was 8. It's so bad for me and it doesn't help and it's shit and the way you feel so sick, that it doesn't get you anywhere and it's no good.
Last year, almost 28,000 people received treatment in New South Wales. Alcohol was the biggest issue, followed by amphetamines, cannabis and heroin.
I had someone ask me why I'm doing a long stint in rehab this time, and the fact of the matter is 2 months ago I nearly died. That's why. That's why.
There's going to be urges, there's going to be stresses that pop up in your life and they can lead to lapses.
Jared's a support worker, a recovered alcoholic who spent half his life in and out of places like this.
But once people do feel that value and respect, they really come to life.
The problem is being seen in the first place. On any given day, around 1,800 people are on wait lists for non-government services. The true numbers expected to be much higher.
Yeah, the current wait list for Freeman House today is 180 on that wait list. That's just for this area, 180 people. Because there isn't enough beds and the facility is just not big enough to cater for that many people.
Across New South Wales, the average wait time at a conservative estimate is at least 3 months. Charmaine waited 8.
I did just sit there wasting away, just doing drugs, smoking pot, getting back on the ice. I could have overdosed, I could have anything at times. I was just happy enough that I lasted that long and I finally got that phone call. It was not good at all.
The management team at Freeman House is flat out.
I know that you've had some issues with the detox and...
Yeah, we've had some challenges.
Yeah.
Staff tell us a lot of their time is wrapped up in red tape, writing reports and funding applications while trying to balance an increasingly complicated caseload.
Sometimes you've got KPIs that might turn around and say that this person needs to be on this particular drug, they need to be this particular age group, that kind of stuff. But what about those people that don't fit into that particular box? Like, that's where we start to, really see some of those struggles come.
Like many workers in the sector, they have hope but not much faith the upcoming Regional Drug Summit will change anything.
And a lot of people sort of have the wrong idea about what we do and the people we work with. If politicians could think about that when they're making policies or when they're speaking to the public, virtue signalling and so forth. It would be enormously beneficial to us if they could actually start talking about these people as though they are just people.
The last state drug summit was held in 1999 over 5 days in Parliament House.
This is a hard problem. It doesn't permit of an easy solution.
It achieved a lot. Obviously, it achieved the first medically supervised injecting centre in the Southern Hemisphere. Other outcomes relating to increased funding and changes to policy. And a lot of people changed their attitudes towards drug use. I think as a sector, we've got a lot of hope that there's going to be change that comes from this drug summit.
The 2024 Drug Summit was a promise made by Labor before the last election. There are 2 sessions in Sydney in December, following a session each in Lismore and Griffith starting tomorrow. 730 has learned many local health providers either weren't invited or didn't know it was on.
What's the excuse for that? How does that happen when it's being held right there in their region?
Well, look, I don't do the details in terms of organisation of the summit per se, but look, I think people have known that we're coming there for a significant period of time. If people have,
they're saying that they didn't know though.
Look, along the way, if people have been missed here and there, I apologise. I'm sure they're aware now that we're coming, that we're going to be in town, but it's certainly not deliberate in any way, and we encourage people to have their say, and we'll allow people to continue to have their say.
Can you understand why people in the sector don't believe that anything is going to come of this?
Look, I can understand in public life, whenever a politician says that they want to sit down and engage with the community, people can be sceptical. But the reality is, for me, this is the way I like to do things.
What's your take on the summit?
My take on this drug summit is, I think, probably a drug summit that you have if you don't really want to have a drug summit.
Joe Coit is the director of the Glen Group, which runs the state's largest Aboriginal community-controlled rehabs. As a veteran in the sector and a consultant to other regional operators, he only received an invitation to the summit after pushing the health department for one.
No one seems to know much about the drug summit. I would argue they're not necessarily going to then represent the whole regions across New South Wales. New South Wales is a big place. It's a very diverse state, and each population, each regional area really has different needs.
The Glen was set up on the Central Coast for First Nations people. Now its doors are open to all.
We need less jails and more rehabilitation centres. We need to be able to help us overcome some of the situations that our peoples have had to go through. We want to be able to stop these cycles. We want what's right for our families. So for us, as an Aboriginal man, for me, it's massive.
Down the road, a women's rehab follows the same model. And across both centres, there's disappointment that Indigenous people weren't listed as a priority population for the summit.
We know Aboriginal community-controlled organisations know what works in their communities and really should be at the table to be, or at the forefront to be showing what works. It does blow your mind a bit because it's really short-sighted, I think.
A key part of recovery is sharing culture and stories.
I was in a 20-year addiction on ice, and mate, I had nowhere to go. I hit rock bottom. Now, mate, my missus, she tells me she loves me, so proud of me. My kids, I get along with me. My kids love me, you know.
When I came in here, I was broken. I had nothing. I didn't know who I was, what I stood for, and I knew I had to rebuild myself.
I never knew what true love was till I come to this place.
Harrow's case is exceptional. He's now sober for the first time since he was 11 years old. He's now 50.
Like I thought, my mates love me, yeah, I'm mad, right? They didn't love me, man. But mate, when I got shot, man, they never come to the hospital, have they? But yeah, but true love is what the Glen is. I'll always be a Glen boy, man, and I'll always be clean. And I love it. Thank you, Slip.
There's a great deal of disappointment. There appears to be no Indigenous representation in the leadership of the summit, nor any distinct Indigenous representation in the guidance of it.
Well, I think Indigenous consultation and Indigenous issues will be every single part of this summit because it is an issue where Aboriginal people are represented.
Will this be a talk fest?
Well, it's not going to be a talk fest because we'll be responding very soon after with the aim to try and develop a drug and alcohol strategy going forward that we can all be proud of. That doesn't mean that we're all going to agree. That's not the purpose of this. But it does mean that we will respond quickly, and it does mean that we will have an authentic conversation with the community and stakeholders.
While signalling reform and policy changes are coming, he wouldn't go into detail.
Can you put a timeline?
It will be months. I mean, it won't be a long period of time, that's for sure. I don't have the patience nor the tolerance for us to take a long period of time.
Away from the politics and future promises, the reality is that these services need support now. Back at Freeman House was shown why there's no time to spare.
So this here is one of our empty rooms.
Despite their desperately long wait list, 9 beds, 9 potentially life-changing rooms remain empty.
And I guess that's what we're seeing across the state with a lot of different services is that nothing's at full capacity because the funding doesn't reach full capacity. This room here would be someone's dream right now, to be able to go, this is going to get me on the right path to recovery.
But at the moment it's just empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Charmaine knows the perils that face those stuck on a wait list.
I've actually seen people already, they go back out and they lapse again and they're trying to get in here, they're trying to get a room. It's a scare because one of those days one of those people might not come back, and it could be from an overdose, it could be from a suicide, it could be because they've ran into the wrong people because they're in the drug life. So yeah, it is kind of sad. And you know, we're not bad people, like we're still human, we're still good people. We just deal with our trauma in a different way. I know this now because the rehab has made it clear that I do need to do this for me. Like if I have my son back, my independence, I will look back on these days and it was all worth it.
If you need help after that story, you can call the National Alcohol and Other Drug Hotline on 1800 250 015.